There's some of it. There's some big thing
Back
on
row.
it.
I want to know if the inmate section.
Oh, is that
Yeah, that's the inmate section.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It is 1:30, and next on the agenda is PILT. PILT stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes, and every year the commission receives per federal law PILT money, which is essentially the federal government's property taxes for federal lands in the county, and that is up to the purview of the county commission on how those monies will be invested in the county or spent or just put under somebody's mattress, just to be socked away. What we try and do, out of breath from all those stairs, what we try and do annually is reserve enough PILT for the following year. If something were to happen and we were to lose PILT, or it were to be funded at a very minute level, we would still have enough to take care of unforeseen situations, circumstances, and it wouldn't affect operations or services provided. There are those who believe we should just be holding on to PILT, just hoarding it. This county has always been very wise in the spending of PILT, long before Elaine and I entered the board, and Franklin as well a year ago. And PILT has been used mostly for capital expenditures, investments in the county. That would help our economy, because when the economy goes up, individuals' property taxes go down. We saw that this year with about an 8.5% decrease in property taxes, and that was due to a healthy economy. So I think with that, we will go ahead and start. First of all, from the board, do you guys have anything, any preliminary thoughts or comments to make regarding PILT?
No, I guess I do have one comment, and that's rural fire. On this sheet that I have, we didn't put any money in there, and I would like to see them get something.
They haven't actually requested anything this year.
Oh, but they have.
Oh, have they?
They told me they did anyway.
I haven't seen a letter
Really?
from them. Last year, they submitted a letter, and then it was discovered that they actually had more in their account than they thought, and they were able to pay off the loan on their own. And then the deal that we made with them verbally was, when you guys need help, come to us, and we'll work with you specifically for the Winston Fire call. But I haven't seen anything.
Okay, I was led to believe they had,
Okay.
so.
You got a report on PILT, so I didn't make you one. But Debbie and Tammy both said you'd come in for your own report. So this is just kind of a synopsis of what that report says. And we can make you another copy if you want.
That's okay, if I have a question, I'll look at yours.
Okay. Yeah,
I might even have it in there somewhere.
okay.
I don't think I have it.
This is not probably the last discussion we'll have on PILT. So with the fire district, what we could do is follow up with them and then discuss their needs with our next meeting on PILT, if that works for you guys. So anything else? Any other questions or comments on PILT before we get started? Franklin, anything from the report you
No.
obtained this week?
No.
All right. So this is done usually right after budget, which is kind of where we're at now. We have a couple of different things on the list, is just kind of a rundown of the requests that have been put to us. Most of these are annual.
Just leave it.
I'll put it over here.
A couple of things that I think need to be made clear. Debbie, who has been helping out with the budget this year, does not know how to move some of the things from PILT into CIPs. Denning and Downey, which are a CPA and auditing firm, will be here at the end of the month, and they're going to help her with that. So when you look at the PILT balance, it's quite high. It is not reflecting some of those things that have come out of PILT. The total, per the report, is $874,643, $874,643. And that doesn't include the vehicle replacement for the sheriff's department, and that's just $3,000 because she already had money in her CIP. Stove and fire suppression for the senior center, they had a stove that was not the right stove for what they were doing, and there was a consistent and constant propane leak and propane smell in the senior center, so we've replaced that. We've actually funneled some money from PILT into the public safety budget, law enforcement, $57,353. And then we also annually pay the liability insurance from PILT. And then this year there were salaries that came out. It was the raises, and those will be wrapped up into the individual budgets next year, or at the end of this year. And that's it. That's all that's not reflected in PILT. The other thing that you need to realize when you look at the CIPs, those total right now $155,115. So that's not included in the PILT total, but it is in PILT CIPs, capital improvement projects. There's also another account that's not on this list. It's 2,900, and that's the commissioner account or the PILT commissioner account. And that has 82,500, and that's mostly for unforeseen situations that come up. And the other thing is our liability insurance has a cushion right now of about $50,000 that we typically keep there to pay for lawsuits, which it will be used for this year, and deductibles for any additional lawsuits. And our deductible with our insurance company is $10,000, and that would be for somebody suing the county. So, any questions thus far? Okay.
When did you say Denning and Dowling were gonna be here?
I believe the 27th through 29th of January. So, what we have at the top of the list are our yearly requests. CASA, which is court-appointed special advocates, they appoint a person to help a child who has been molested or the victim of a heinous crime to work through the court system. Food Pantry asked for $3,000. Tree Board asked for $2,000. And BCDC, which is the Broadwater County Development Corporation, asked for $10,000. Total of 16. Do you want me to go through all of them, or do you want to stop there?
I think so, no.
Go through all of them? Okay. We have a number of CIPs. The CIP for county buildings right now is in a deficit of $10,000. And we have IM or SIGB, that's Interoperability Montana, another CIP, and that has $12,262 currently in it. We have a road CIP for machinery, that has $20,203. Dana for the road department is only allowed, all departments by law are only allowed 33% reserves at the end of the year. That means that you cannot hold back reserves over 33%. So the departments that budgeted very well, they were able to take anything over that 33% and actually put it into a capital fund. They'll be either able to move that into a CIP or keep it as capital within their departments to be used for, printers, computers, what have you. Dana has $179,077 over his 33% reserve to save up for a new grader, new dump truck, what have you. The ambulance fund is at $98,504. It costs us about $100,000 for a new ambulance. We're on a track to replace every 10 years, and I believe we're 4 years out at this point. That fund has about $15,000 that it could put into either capital or the CIP, just from budgeting last year. The sheriff's vehicle CIP is pretty much at zero. We do have a deficit of 2989, but we also already voted to put 3,000 into that account, so it's sitting at $11. And the sheriff has gotten 4 new vehicles in the last 2 years, so it's okay to start building up on that one. Sheriff's Weapons has a current balance of $2,600. The airport has a current balance of $22,869, and they also have a surplus over the 33% reserve of $9,320 that they would like to add to the CIP. They are saving up for a new airport runway that they will have to replace for FAA regulations. The library has a current budget of $11,617, and they have about $6,982 they can add to the capital or CIP fund. 3 other areas that we need to consider, at least have on our list, is the Montana Department of Transportation turn lane at the south end of the county. That's from an agreement between the state and Broadwater County from 2005, and this is the last year for that. It was $114,100 that Broadwater County owed MDT last year, and they said we could divide it in half. So it's $57,050 this year. And then there's also the MACO JPIA insurance deductible for lawsuits. And the school, Clint Watson's class, who does so much for the county, asked for $879,000 for a power washer that last year that they haven't gotten yet. So I think we should just keep that for
I
them.
think you said that wrong.
What'd I say?
879,000.
Oh, $879, thank you very much. So that's our PILT request list. Any preliminary thoughts?
Well, we obviously need to add some money to the county buildings.
Yes. And Mike is here if we want to call him up and talk to him about that.
I think we do.
Okay, all right, do you want to just start with that one then and go down the list?
Mhm.
All right, Mike.
We should have brought a list.
No kidding, yeah. One thing that I do think is important to state is we have not had this opportunity in the past. Previous to you, we had people who were hired for building maintenance of cleaning, vacuuming, emptying garbages. When you came along with your expertise on construction and concrete and the knowledge base, we hired you more for that side of the job rather than the daily cleaning. So we have taken advantage of that and appreciate very much all that you have done for the county.
Both here and in the sheriff's office.
Absolutely. And one example of how that is valuable is a couple years ago, a load-bearing wall was removed to make office space. Well, we didn't have somebody with quite the expertise that you have. Well, load-bearing wall ended up doing this to the ceiling and floor here on this floor. So now with that expertise, we can avoid those kinds of situations. So, what do you think?
Well, I know that we have fire suppression going in over at the senior center on Thursday. We have Cooney locks going in. I'm working with Cooney locks on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, redoing all the locks in jail because they haven't been moved in, I guess, 7 years, 6 years, what they're telling me. They're supposed to be done every year. We have the parking lot coming up. We have the wall that needs to be built over there for because the limpet spot has gotten grown too big. What else we got? We got search and rescue. And I know some of these sidewalks really need to be addressed this year. There's a couple of them that are falling down, especially over from the doctors that we're responsible for that they've caved in.
What do you think you're looking at, or thinking, Mike, about?
I know I wish I had more time to really kind of shoot off the top of my head, because a couple of things popped in my head too, and I walked up here.
This isn't, we can always readdress this later
I think
too,
you're, I
so.
think you're gonna have to, at the moment, right now, if you're counting search and rescue, parking lot, the two other items I got going on, and the Cooney locks is coming out of there. I would probably, I'm just gonna guess off the top of my head, you need to replenish the 10,000 and have another 40,000 sitting there. 'Cause I can't remember right now, I started looking for the file, and it's, for the parking lot.
Well, I think, 35, I think.
Yeah, it was, so,
35,000.
yeah, that's where we're gonna run into problems there. So if that was 35, so it'd be more like about 60. With the few items I know off the top of my head, 60 plus the 10,000 is in deficit.
That's for the search and rescue.
Mm-hmm.
I was over there with Roger Noonan.
That's what I'd probably say.
Okay. Any other questions for Mike?
I don't,
I can give you a better number if I had known what, but I held back at least a half hour to, or maybe a couple hours, and go through and write down all the projects that need to be taken care of and how much, and go through a list.
Yeah, that'd be good. We'd have time for that.
I'm kinda shooting
Whenever.
right off the top of my head right now,
Okay.
so, yeah, I'd say 60,000 and then 10,000. I can get you a better number in the list.
so would we be better off saying 75 there then?
If we could readdress it later and say 60 is fine,
Okay,
but, I will get you a list.
okay.
I'll work on it this tomorrow or possibly next week, 'cause I'm pretty busy the rest of the week.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Easy?
Thanks.
That
The other
60 was
one,
on top of the kid.
Includes
60, it includes him.
Mhm. No, it did not.
That's what I thought, it was 60 plus the kid.
So I said that, I thought, no, that's,
the next one I kind of think that we should address is the sheriff's vehicles. Do you guys, what do you guys feel about that one?
what did she get for vehicles this year again? Refresh my memory.
Two, one from the county and one from the city, and two last year. And, we depleted the CIP last year and had, 40,000, well, 37,000 left in there this year. And so that's how we paid for that car, is that 37 plus 3 for the 40.
I would like to see hopefully the 40 in there. Just as a number to start with. What's your thoughts, Frank?
How are you sitting in that win?
Which one?
Vehicles.
Well, I wish I would've known, we just had the new one sitting down here, you guys could've looked at it. It's, obviously, just depending on the make and model you're going with, depends on the prices and everything else, but the one we got, came out of Bison Ford, and their fleet system they have. It was a little over 40,000, it's like $40,128, and I think that includes, the light bars and all that stuff with it, so it's a really good package. It's on the new police interceptor, that they came out with. It's more of a purpose-driven, police car versus like what we've done in the past buying Durangos that aren't law enforcement driven, per se. They don't wear, this one's built, it's got bigger tires, it's got bigger brakes, it's got, heavy-duty equipment to it versus having just a standard car made into a police car. And that's where we've had a lot of problems with maintenance in the past, is where the cars aren't designed to be used as police cars. And so now, Ford is one of the few that has actually come to the plate and said, we understand the need for it. And they've now manufactured this police interceptor again, that's more of a law enforcement driven purpose vehicle that's gonna withstand that. So hopefully we don't have the maintenance issues that we've had in the past with the other ones, but unfortunately with the growth in the county, we're seeing our cars, the cars we just rotated out, were 2008s, and they're 110 to 120,000 miles on. That's a lot of miles on a police car, so. But that hopefully that maintenance issue should come down a little bit, but I think, you know, I don't see that price changing a lot, in the grand scheme of things, so, it's probably not a fair, it's a fair number, I think.
Are you planning on rotating one this year then?
We actually rotating two out, so,
Now for 14, or these two you already got, right?
yeah, these are two we just got.
And you're figuring for 2 for 14 then?
Nah, I don't think so.
One at least.
We have one that
One.
needs to go down the pike, but, it's an older, was it 2005, 2006? Huh? Yours needs to go away. You need to make a relic out of it, put it in the museum.
It's a
But-
fine tune.
Yeah, at least one this year, in this fiscal year, we need to probably change out.
So 40's really not enough there.
Probably not for this next fiscal year. I would-
Depends on what we're looking at. Well, we've got a couple that are doing pretty good, but we're getting where, the problem was, we bought too many at once, and then they all started coming up where they need to get rotated out, and that's where we got in a bind this last time. I think it was 2008, we had to rotate a bunch out in 2008, and so now we had kind of a large group of them that had lots of miles, and they're nickel and diming us to death, so, lessons learned.
Okay, any more questions of Wynn or Brenda?
We should know on this part.
Okay. Any other CIPs you guys wanted to talk about?
What about sheriff's weapons?
That's supposed to, from back when the goal was set, it should be a $2,500, was it $2,500 or $2,600 yearly CIP? So that when we rotate through the firearms, that CIP will be built up, so that we won't have to come and ask you for money, it will be built up on a yearly basis.
Well, there's 2,600 in there right now, correct?
There is, yes. So you don't have you been rotating any of the weapons through? We talked, 2 years ago about
No,
new weapons?
No,
We got all new ones, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we were able to replace all the handguns and all the long rifles, and we even got some new shotguns with how we kind of did some trading with Capital Sports and stuff, but everything's good for, well, those handguns should be rotated out about year 8, and then those long rifles, I think they're halfway decent. I think we got 10 or 12 years with them. So those aren't huge. And with that, the way they are now, we can replace some parts without having to replace the entire weapon too. So that, with that AR style weapon, we can change some of that stuff. But, so we've got a few years before we gotta replace handguns, so.
Okay,
but from my understanding, when I set that goal up, it was to set that money aside for when it came down time to replace. It was supposed to be a yearly amount that was set aside.
So that being the case, we need 2,600. Correct?
Is what now?
That being the case, we need 2,600 there.
Right. Instead of 25, I guess.
Mhm.
so with the other CIPs, any thoughts?
What is the airport gonna cost to redo?
It's now a 90-10 split, it used to be 95-5, FAA changed that, or the feds did, I'm not sure who. I'm not sure what the total will be at this point, but they did want to add their surplus over the 33%, which was 93-20, to their CIP. I guess what I would suggest, until we have a request for more, that maybe just putting in what they've requested as far as their capital over the 33% reserve, and address more as they need it or as they have a plan in place. Any issues with that?
Mm-mm.
Franklin?
No.
Okay. So moving up then to CASA, Food Pantry, Tree Board, and BCDC. You want to just start at the top and work down?
Sure enough,
All right. How do you feel about 1,000 to CASA?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Franklin, you too, any arguments?
No, that's okay, for this preliminary.
Okay, and Food Pantry? 3,000?
And that's what we've been giving them every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have my old PILT sheets with me if you want to see them.
Well, I think every little bit that we can give them, they would appreciate. It appears to me that they're having to provide food for more and more people all the time.
Okay, and Tree Board. Tree Board is 2,000. One thing I will say about Tree Board is we actually get a lot more back from them than the 2,000 that they're requesting. If you'll remember, they did the ramp for the senior center last year. They coordinated the One Day One Senior Center, rebuilt the storage shed for the senior center, and then when we had our grass issue out here in front, it was the Tree Board and their equipment that worked with Mike and Jerry to fix that, and that was all free of charge as far as labor goes, and equipment rental. Anything that they didn't have, of course, we had to pay, but it ended up being a pretty inexpensive amount for us, so just wanted to throw out that reminder. How do you guys feel about 2,000 for Tree Board?
I'm fine with 2,000.
At this point, I leave it at that.
Okay, and we do have the president of BCDC here, and we also received a letter from BCDC. We did from the Tree Board as well. But Ernie, would you like to come up, and any other
Sure.
representatives of BCDC back?
I put together kind of an overview of probably what the letter was, but I wrote the letter, it's been a while back, so there might be some new things on here that weren't in the letter, because we change all the time. Some of the projects that we work on, we put on hold sometimes for different reasons or another, and then when things change, we're able to bring them back up and try and work on them again. One in particular that's happened to about 4 times is the pedestrian bridge across the Missouri River out here. And we probably started that 10 years ago. And it comes up for a while and it goes and then it goes off and we can't do it. The state now is interested in us doing something with that, but we're still kind of in the talking stage because they've changed the plan considerably from when we started years ago. And so it's something in the future, but it's gonna take money to follow through on. And what they're talking about, and they'd like to see Broadwater County do, is put in a pedestrian bridge across the Missouri, but they wanted a freestanding pedestrian bridge. So it's gonna run around $750,000 to $1 million at least. They will come up with most of that money, but we would still have to do some things with it. So, you know, we always need money for planning and different things. Another thing that's kind of in limbo right now is our silos property. We don't really have a lot of expense yet, but we don't really know what our expenses are gonna be either. Because a lot of that's covered under our wetlands program grant that we got, and that covers it for 3 years. So you're gonna see a lot of changes out there in the next 3 years. What we are responsible for that we do know of in that period of time is the property taxes, which run about $341 a year. There's also gonna be some general maintenance and weed spraying. I think the majority of that weed spraying for the first 3 years will be covered under the grant, but I'm not positive, so we may have to do a little bit there. The other thing is we still would like to rebuild the entryway into the silos before it falls completely down. It's in terrible shape, and it would increase the aesthetic value a lot out there, and it would make it look more like it did originally. I don't know if we have enough bricks and pieces to do that yet. We have been collecting some bricks and things, so we're probably close. But even if we couldn't finish it, maybe we could start on it, get it structurally sound again so it doesn't deteriorate any worse. And then as we acquire more needed materials, we could finish it up at a later date. But it's in pretty poor shape, and if it's allowed to go too long, we may lose it. The other thing that came back up here just recently was new bases for the new streetlights that we put in a few years ago. The reason we didn't put bases on them when they put them up is we didn't have the money. And also, at the time, the cheapest ones we could find were somewhere around $300 to $600 a piece. I don't know what happened, if we weren't looking in the right place or if they've come down that much. I found an outfit now where we can buy clamshell, which is 2-piece, so we don't have to take the light spikes, put them on, you can just put them on. And they're $150 a piece. I bought one and put it on in front of the corner bar over there, maybe you've seen it. It decorates them up a lot, and it matches the crown, which is what holds the globe on top. The crown and the base, if we do put bases on them, will eventually weather, and so it'll all kind of match. It takes a little time. We still need 20 of them to do the remaining lights. That'll cost around $3,000, somewhere in there. That's if the prices haven't changed since I got that one, which was about 3-4 months ago. We're committed to helping Goose Bay with their dock, moving their docks. We're committed to the hospital to help them with some signage. Of course, we've been working with Tree Board for several years on the planters and the watering program. BCDC helps quite a little with that. We have a couple trailers and water pumps and different things. Everything's run through BCDC because we're a 501c3 and the Tree Board's not. So we handle all the funding for them, for that program. And of course, the website that most of you are familiar with, that doesn't cost a lot, but it needs to be maintained constantly. I'm probably in there 4 or 5 days a week working on it. And that website benefits all of Broadwater County, the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development, the city, county, Winston, Toston, Raidersburg, and the Wheatland area, as well as many of the nonprofit and civic organizations in the community. We also maintain a weather cam that's become extremely popular. If you watch the news on Channel 25, it's on there every single night. They show it. So it's got a lot of attention. We do have an analysis system where we can see how many people are viewing our website and different pages. We finally got the camera hooked into that. I haven't been in for a while, but the last time I was in there was 40 to 50 people a day going into just the camera alone. So it's getting a lot of use. And those are used mostly by people that are traveling. You know, if they're going from Helena to Bozeman or something, they want to know what the weather is, especially if it's snowing or something over there, they can look and see what it is along the way. But our site is also visited by an awful lot of people from internationally. We get an awful lot from Canada and Europe and stuff. I would imagine they're looking for small towns because some of those people come in for our cattle drive, different things like that. We get quite a few from Germany. So our website's really getting hit a lot. So I think it's a real plus for the community. Our storefront grants, I looked those up just before I came up, because that's constantly changing. And since August 2001, BCDC has given 45 grants at a value of $21,348. And these grants have helped with around $1 million in improvements to different businesses and property. And to put the numbers in perspective, small business like the Main Street type businesses, when they get a grant, our return is usually about 10 to 1. And our grants go up to $500. But the average for these small businesses usually runs between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of improvements. So that's why we come up with the 10 to 1. If we figured in everything, it gets up to around 20 to 30 to 1. And the reason being is we've had a few projects like down here at the railroad tracks, you know, when they got rid of Lake Townsend down there on both sides. Each one of those projects was close to $100,000. And BCDC gave, I think, 4 grants in there, so we gave them 2,000. They spent almost 200,000. Another one that comes to mind is RY Timber. When they did theirs, they got a $500 grant and did somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 worth of improvements. So some of our grants, you know, the return on them is huge, but that isn't the norm. The norm is about 10 to 1. And by giving 45, some of the businesses in town have had more than one. And it's just been a super program, and we would like to keep it up, and we're getting low on funds to do it. I think we have $750 left for that fund is all.
I just want to add a couple of things. Is BCDC is a volunteer organization. We are the only entity directly working with infrastructure for small businesses, like through that program and the website. We're it. I mean, unless you go get big loans, go to the bank. And what I think is cool about, just as you have flexibility with PIL, we can use it for a variety of community, economic, community development activities. Our overhead is zip or next to nothing, other than we have some really minor business expenses, but nobody's getting paid to do this. Anywhere else, you pay for that. Anybody who's got an employee doing stuff like that, they're paying for that. So, anyway, we're a pretty darn good deal for the community. We have 50 approximately members, businesses and individuals. We're pretty widespread, and we're trying to outreach more to the Winston, Toston, Raidersburg area, especially with those storefront grants. We gave one to the Raidersburg School. You know, it was quite a business. We looked at it as an economic thing. So anyway, so that we're trying to be receptive and interface in a way that the county commission or the city cannot without any overhead. So anyway, so we appreciate anything we can do for BCDC.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No, I don't believe so.
All right. Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
You got all your figures on here. I think every place you got figures.
Yeah, and I kind of explained those, that, like especially the rebuilding this intersection of the south, the entryway. We haven't got a bid on that yet. So where I got that figure from is when we did our first restoration work, it was around 15,000. This is going to be less, but it's a different type of work. So I'm assuming it's not going to be cheap, so it's going to be probably somewhere in that neighborhood. That's just a guess.
All right, so 10,000 requested from BCDC. Any thoughts?
I guess I have one question, is 10,000 enough? After looking at what they have on their list.
Yeah, the total's quite a bit more than that. But,
And granted, we can't do the whole thing.
right. Guess all I can do is just put a figure for right now and go from there.
I'm just adding what we've talked about so far, so we have an idea of where we would be at this point. And somehow I keep losing the numbers. Sorry.
Oh, outside of the storefront grants, it's about $15,000, but that doesn't include the pedestrian bridge, which we've gotta get our minds around that one. That one, to me, is a totally different kind of a ballgame. It's a big project, so.
Looks like 15 and 17,000. I think I guess we use either figure for right now.
What's that?
I'm just guessing here, what they had here between 15 and 17,000.
Yeah, I used 8,000 on the silos, not 10.
Okay.
So.
I guess we can use that figure for right now.
If we look at the money that we've already allocated to PILT this year and subtract it from our total at this time, we come up with a total today of $608,746. So if we add everything that we're talking about today at the high number, we're at $186,529.
So what is that putting in for BCDC?
I just did the 10, but we can certainly renegotiate all these numbers. I just went with the numbers that either the numbers requested or the numbers that we talked about for the CIPs, just for a starting point. And that brings us to $422,217.
Can we take BCDC to 15?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Franklin?
Does that please the board?
So I guess we can for right now till we start.
Mm-hmm.
It might be cut even way less once we start. I guess we use any figure right at this point, everyone.
I would personally suggest and appreciate the value of the economic development work that BCDC does. I would suggest that we keep it to what the request is of 10,000. But put that in our memory banks and maybe even put out a olive branch to BCDC to next year perhaps request more. But I'm uncomfortable going higher than BCDC has requested.
Okay.
You know, at 10 we're below what they're requesting, so that's, whatever, like I say, these figures, it's
And-
just a starting point.
You can argue with me, Franklin, absolutely. If you wanna go higher than 10,
No, I said, geez, what don't you understand? I said
On
that,
here, it
it's
says.
10, and I says we went less than what they did, but they wanted, we understood, you said that they wanted more, next year, more. Right back to just any figure for a starting point, if we use 10, I don't care which we use, 10 or we use 15, whatever, it's still just a starting point for right now.
Let's go 10 for right now then.
Okay. Yeah, that's the last I had written down.
so with, if we do follow through with what we've talked about, and that is 1,000 to CASA, 3,000 to food pantry, 2,000 to tree board, 10,000 to BCDC, 70,000 to the building CIP, 40,000 to the sheriff's vehicles, 2,600 to the sheriff's weapons CIP, $57,050 to the MDT turn lane, and $879 to Mr. Watson's class. That puts us at $422,217 from what it looks like at this point. It gives us a cushion, it gives us some to work with. What do you guys think? Do you wanna go up or down on any numbers? Do you want a bigger cushion? Do you think that's pretty good? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is a starting point.
The road has 20,000 in their CIP fund.
Mm-hmm. The thing is with the road, is they have, we don't have an official request from Dana for anything more than that, but he does have almost $180,000 in his account over his 33% reserve. So he would like to actually utilize that as capital. He's not sure about putting it in the CIP at this time. That is some money he can save for a grader, use for crushing gravel, that kind of thing.
Okay.
See, we haven't got the bid yet on that gravel crushing.
Right.
He's just working on that now, so that's gonna be a pretty good chunk there.
And what about the ambulance?
The ambulance also has not put in an official request for more. They have $98,504 in their account right now, but they have $15,233 that they could move either to capital or add to the CIP. We need about $100,000 to pay for a new ambulance. So we could certainly add a little bit more in there if you want, or work more closely with them in the coming weeks to see if that 15,000 leaves them feeling pretty good or not.
I would suggest that we work with them and see what their thoughts are.
Okay,
I'd say that too. What's that fund now? 90, ambulance fund 90,000, 95,
98,504.
98.
We've already paid the senior center, the stove and fire suppression, correct?
correct. We do have a request coming from them for about $800. Don't remember the exact total, that should come to us next week, for a sink that's required by law. And it's, they need a three compartment sink, for health reasons. And, they will come to us for that. So, it's kind of like Mr. Watson's, $879. It's not a huge amount, just something to be aware of that's coming. It could also come out of the contingency fund if we wanted. I haven't asked about the JPIA insurance deductible of $20,000. Again, we have a $50,000, what looks like a $50,000 cushion that's in the budget under the liability insurance. So my thought is, let's address that when we come to it if it's needed, but we should be able to utilize that cushion, I would think.
Did you say we don't have a letter from the airport?
We don't. However, I did talk to the chairman, and they do want their money over their 33% to go into the CIP, and that's $9,320. They were hoping it would be $10,000. So my suggestion with the airport is maybe to work with them a lot like the ambulance and kind of track what's going on, get a sense from Bill Berglund of what we're looking at, and maybe divide out so we have a better idea annually what needs to go in there. If you guys want to make that an even $10,000 for them, we could certainly do that.
And what about the library?
The library is kind of in the same situation. They have about almost $7,000 over their 33% reserves, again, just good budgeting, that they could put into the capital or CIP. They've got $11,617 right now. That would take them to almost $20,000. They do have an account, they do get mills, and they have $25,000 in that account right now.
It looks to me like they've got plenty then.
Yeah, that's interesting.
As far as our knowledge of their needs, they did ask for an increase to their budget of $250 this year. We met that, and they were still above their reserve by over almost $7,000. So they're doing very well. Maybe the same with the ambulance and the airport. We work closely with the library, kind of monitor their needs
Mhm.
and readdress those three at a later date.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So for today, is it too preliminary to ask for a motion and a vote on the solids that we talked about? CASA, Food Pantry, Tree Board, BCDC, County Building CIP, Sheriff Vehicle CIP, Sheriff's Weapons CIP, MDT Turn Lane, and Mr. Watson.
I'd say it's too preliminary, that's where we're getting this figured out, so we have something to start. This is our base, and then go from there, so I think it's too preliminary to do anything now.
And what would you like to wait for? So I know you got a full report on PILT on Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe both days. Do you have some questions about where we stand on PILT?
We don't have to rush into this right now, that's all what I'm saying.
We don't have to rush into anything. We usually do this during budget season, and so that would have been September, October. We are in January.
I guess we're still in the budget season.
We're not. We've approved the budget. If you remember, we have a resolution that approved the budget, and that was done a couple months ago also. What we have, though, is 4 independent, hugely volunteer groups that are going to be gearing up for spring and upcoming projects and helping with issues like children. And they need to know where they stand. We have a building CIP that's already in a deficit up by $10,000. We really should be addressing some of these things. There's some of these that are pretty basic. If you would feel better, maybe cutting what you want to put into them, that's fine. The MDT turn lane, of course, we'll have to address that.
We don't have any choice, we gotta pay that.
That's correct. In 2005, it was determined that was non-negotiable, and so.
2005 is 2011.
No, it was 2005, Franklin.
It doesn't matter, I mean, we're stuck with it, that's all. The other got 57,000.
So, any further discussion, any further questions?
The 879 to the high school, what again was that for?
That was from, I think, a year or two ago, and Mr. Watson's class has helped the tree board with the cages around the trees and helped rebuild that storage shed, helped put in the concrete for the ramp to the senior center. And as a request, as a way for the county to thank Mr. Watson's class, he suggested that we put aside the money in PILT to buy a power washer. And he did all the research to find the best deal and found it, and just hasn't come to us yet for the money. So we've just been holding that for him. We can continue to leave that out and put it in if need be. That would be absolutely fine.
My fear is that it's gonna come in higher now.
It certainly could. Certainly could, so maybe we don't want to do anything with that at this time.
I think we should give him some money, but that's my concern is
And we've
because of
had,
the cost of things going up.
yeah, we've had that sitting for him. It's just been he that has not come to us for the money. So as long as we have an understanding, we certainly don't have to transfer anything yet. In fact, I don't think we should maybe transfer until we do have, something more.
Concrete.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So we can take that one out for now. And it's been on our PILT list now for a couple of years, just in holding.
So where are we figure-wise? What did you have?
186,529, 186,529, and that is everything at the high. So it's 70,000 for the CIP for the buildings, 40,000 for the sheriff's vehicle, and then everything else is just as requested.
And that doesn't give money to the airport or the library either, does it?
No. Other than what they already have going in.
Right.
And the CIPs don't only need to be funded from PILT, they can be funded from other sources, which is essentially what they're doing.
So that's 186,529?
Yes, and that does include Mr. Watson's power washer, so if we took that off, we're looking at 185,650.
I think we can do that. And then sit on the others for a little bit.
And is that,
A motion.
okay, all right. So is there a second to the motion?
Like I said before, still preliminary as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I'm gonna second the motion, just because we are 4 months after the end of the budget season. It's been moved and seconded to transfer $1,000 PILT to the CASA Advocates, 3,000 PILT to Food Pantry, 2,000 PILT to Tree Board, 10,000 PILT to BCDC, 70,000 PILT to the County Building CIP, 40,000 PILT to the sheriff's vehicles, 2,600 PILT to sheriff's weapons, and to pay the $57,050 PILT to the MDT turn lanes, for a total of $185,650. Is that accurate? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No, because it's still preliminary as far as I'm concerned.
Okay,
No,
Franklin
without record.
opposes. All right. So we will revisit that and follow up on some of the other work with that coming up in the coming months. We're a little bit behind for a budget review. Thanks, folks, for coming. So we have both the county budget and the detail, expenditure, and revenue reports for each of the different county departments. And those were both given out earlier this week. Any questions before we start on the budget review? And we can either start on the budget or the details if you guys have a preference. Expenditure and revenue, or
I have a question. In Commissioner's office supply, what did we buy there?
that might indeed be our 3 computers that we bought earlier this year. And the expenditures are through the end of December, so everything should be about 50% since we're 50% through the year. And the revenue is actually through the end of November. December is not realized. And also with the revenue to keep in mind is taxes did not go out until late because of the DOR, Department of Revenue, deciding to reevaluate Broadwater County at the end of October. And so a lot of those property taxes and entitlement share has not come in. So those numbers are a little bit scary at this point. And the other thing I was thinking, if it's okay with you guys, is we could go ahead and open up any department head to come and talk to the 3 of us during a meeting about their budgets individually, or talk to us individually midweek, if if they have any questions.
I would like them to come forth at a meeting.
Okay, and do you wanna call each department head and just discuss them one-on-one down the list?
We can,
Okay,
or just schedule a meeting.
okay, we'll start with the department head meeting and then,
Mhm.
work on that then, okay?
You wanna start with one today, or not?
We're gonna start with a department head meeting of all our county department heads and then let them know what our plan is. And then we will start at that time with them, one-on-one. Most of the departments look pretty good at this point. There's no alarm bells yet, unless you guys saw any.
I did not.
The other thing to keep in mind is we do bottom line budgeting, not line item budgeting. So really the bottom line, the total is the one to look at. So we can shift the money within funds as needed.
Well, and I would like to talk to them, see what they are foreseeing into the next 6 months.
Yeah, and like you asked before, what are their goals?
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Is that what you want for the department head meeting then?
Pardon me?
Is this what you want for the department head meeting?
What are their goals? What do they foresee to be expenses for the next 6 months to the end of the budget year?
When do you plan on having the department head meetings then?
We'll put that on the agenda, but it'll probably be for next week. Or the week after, depending on what works.
On that department head, I don't know.
You have a question on that? You want it sooner, or?
Well, the 22nd, I have to travel to Missoula, so if you guys were doing that day, I wouldn't be around, but, otherwise, the following week, I don't have anything, that's jamming me that I know of yet, so, Tuesdays through Thursdays usually kind of a mucky mess for me, but, Mondays, if it's Monday, that's fine.
We should be able to schedule it on the Monday, the regular Monday meeting.
I don't foresee why not.
True, yeah. Next week, Monday is a holiday, so we'll plan it for 2 weeks from today. All right?
All in favor?
Sooner the better, because we have some huge issues with our budget.
And we're overdue for a department head meeting, so we'll get on that. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Wait.
I was gonna, it's probably late this year, and I understand that. At some juncture, I kind of hinted towards it during this morning's meeting in regard to search and rescue. Currently, there's not a CIP or even a vehicle, any way for us to change out our vehicles for search and rescue as of right now. Basically, we've been operating on is hand downs. We did buy an older truck, that's killing me right now, but, having 22 members on the search and rescue, I need to be able to get them from point A to point B. And I think I talked to Laura about it once before. I know it's late in the year, it's late in the game, more of a thought process for maybe next fiscal year is to have a discussion about, maybe starting a CIP for search and rescue vehicles. So we can, we've got some that got 200 and some thousand on them. They probably need to get rotated out, from being a public safety type vehicle. So, they're working what we got right now, but as things keep going forward, it might be a conversation we need to have, and just figure out what we can do there. Because I've been asking for a lot today, so I don't wanna feel greedy, but just things that have been overlooked in the past. And so, whatever works on it, we can talk about later, but just a little idea out there.
And
Makes sense.
it does. This is something that, thank you, Wynn, I forgot to bring it up. Wynn has already also talked to Debbie, and she has on a list here 6,700 for PIL CIP, or excuse me, Search and Rescue CIP. Again, she doesn't know how to set it up yet. She's gonna learn from D&D, Denning and Downing, when they get here the 27th or the 29th.
Okay.
And so we'll be able to address that at that time.
And I think, in regards to just some new things that we haven't done was, and we had the coroner's inquest this last fall. I don't know if we had, for those situations, we have to pay for those things to happen. And in lieu of Friday night's activities, then it's getting to be more and more prominent. I don't know if that's maybe something we need to just, somewhere out there in regards to coroner, is have somewhere in there for that type of procedure to take place. Not that I want it to take place ever again, I'll be honest with you, but if it does get to that point, instead of us looking at a cost associated with a court hearing, maybe we might just want to put some over just to cover those things. Because we do have to have, if it's a law enforcement related issue, we have to have a civilian coroner come and do that. We have to pay jury fees, witness fees, and all this stuff. And so just lessons learned from something we've never dealt with before. That might just be something we want to put out there. As it doesn't have to be used, it doesn't have to be rotated over, just something we want to put there from year to year to cover a cost associated with that.
Here's something I think we should do when, you guys are the experts on what it is that you need to do your job. So what I would suggest is put together what you need, put together a proposal, associated costs, what the numbers look like, give us the tools we need in order to answer your needs. And then what we'll do in 2 weeks is we'll have a department head meeting,
Okay.
and then immediately we'll meet with just you guys on your budget. How's that?
That's like,
And then we're addressing it in just 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And as for today, overview for the whole county, anything you guys saw? Okay, I will bring up just a few things. When we had the emergency flooding 2 years ago, we received money from FEMA. We have an emergency fund, which is number 2260, and FEMA came to just kind of look over what had been done. And they did state that that money should go into the emergency fund first and then disseminate out from there to either law enforcement or road or wherever we need it to go. So lesson learned on that. We were not dinged in any way, it was just an FYI. If you look at the liability insurance fund, you'll see the 50,000 cushion in there. If you look at the individual funds, most are sitting really good as far as their reserves. Extension and fair are at 32%. We will be working with public safety in 2 weeks on theirs. So other than that, most of them are doing pretty good. Health insurance, we seem to be right on target.
I'm okay.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else then, no questions. We have 20 minutes till 3. We do have a closed door today at 3 o'clock. Oh, we do have one piece of mail we need to address. And this is from Wynn, from earlier. don't recall if we had voted on this. The meth lab cleanup. Okay. I personally don't think that this is one of those things that the sheriff can be expected to budget for, as it is such an unforeseen. So I do think that, you know, we have two different avenues for that kind of spending. One is PILT, and one is the contingency fund. There's kinds of emergencies that come in that you just can't necessarily plan for. What do you guys think?
3345. I'll make a motion that we do pay this meth lab cleanup out of the contingency fund.
I'll second that. You contingency or bill it? You wanna do it to contingency fund?
Contingency fund this time, I think.
And if you have a different opinion, we're more than open to hearing it.
Well, we gotta pay it, so.
That's
either
true, but
fund.
where do you wanna pay it from?
Either
Yeah.
fund, I mean, it's.
It's kind of 6 of one, half a
Yeah, that's
dozen the
right,
other.
exactly, so. There's a
So that's-
question here.
That's
And-
just,
Sorry.
that's just a second on the motion?
Yes.
Okay.
One's got-
Yes, Wayne?
Just real clear, I think the way meth labs were dealt with back in 2003, 4, and 5, I think the procedures and protocols have changed dramatically, so we didn't have this type of issue anymore. And like I said earlier, a lot of these that they came and got from us are from old cases from back in that time. And since we just don't have a huge meth lab issue like we used to, it probably shouldn't be an issue to be dealt with again, since there's the other checks and balances with it. So this should be an isolated incident in regards to these guys cleaning up evidence in regards to that. So I just want to make sure it's not something we plan on doing on a regular basis. It's something that came up and we need to get it out of there. So that was it.
All right, thanks. So no more surprises is what you're saying?
No, I'm hoping not.
All right, motion is on the floor. It's been moved and seconded to pay the meth lab cleanup of $3,345 from the contingency fund. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I think I heard 3. Okay, I think that is it. Am I missing anything? Anything else for the good of the order? The commissioners? Okay. I will open it up for public comment, if anyone has any. Yes, Trudy?
Trudy Southwick, on the WIC program that you guys talked about this morning, does the county have to match any of the dollars? You said it was a grant with the state.
I don't believe there's any match. I don't know for sure. I don't think so.
Okay, and next question is, I didn't hear anything about the $200,000 that you awarded to the hospital from PILT. Is that?
That was actually taken out. There's a couple of things that were taken out. From my list with Debbie,
Or the
and they
loan
were,
payment?
yep, that one, and the other one was the MBAC membership. Those were
So
already taken out.
the total that you gave us has those amounts taken out already?
Yes, I believe they do. Any other questions? All right, Tim?
I got a quick question. You've taken some funding out of the contingency fund, and my memory serves me correctly, that contingency fund was created a few years ago. What is the funding source for that? In other words, PILT has its annual process that puts money into PILT. Where's the money coming from for the contingency fund? Because as you use that, unless it has some new funding sources, that's gonna dry up, would you guess,
Mhm.
before long.
Yeah.
So what is the story on that fund?
There isn't really a story to be found. A couple of years ago, there was money put into the contingency fund for union negotiations.
I
That was-
understand where it came from originally, I'm just wondering
Right.
where,
That was your
What- Are
question,
you
no?
gonna spend that until it's gone and then,
A couple
somewhere
years
else?
ago, it was funded per legal advice so that we had something for union negotiations. It's important to have a finite bucket that you're working with union negotiations. So that's why we set it up. When we got done with union negotiations, we did not need all of the money that was set aside in the contingency fund. So that has been just a fund that we have needed or used for unforeseen, kind of like PILT. So yes, when it's done, we will have the option of filling it up again if we choose, or we will no longer have a contingency fund. If I could have that claim back, it's not in Tammy's list, so I don't want it lost for her. So that's that. Any other questions? Yes, Trudy?
Has the county received its payment for PILT for this year yet?
Yes, we get it at the end of June. So, for this fiscal year we are in, we have received that in full. It was $535,000, I think.
Okay, so your total of $874,643 has already had the $260,000 taken out for the hospital and everything else. Okay.
And that is per the PILT report that we got this week.
Can I get a copy of that?
Absolutely, yes. All right.
Anything from me before I leave?
No, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Lynn.
Have a great day.
You too. All right.
Are we gonna recess till 3 or?
I have one more
No.
follow-up question, I guess. Do you folks have a report on over, I'll just say maybe go back 5 years and say the number of jobs created by the county investment in BCDC and/or AMBAC? And if we have a record of any write-offs of those investments that have been made over the last, say, 5 years? Are those records available at the county, or are they only available through BCDC and/or AMBAC?
County wouldn't have that kind of record. That would be pretty in-depth study stuff. MBAC could put together some information there. Yeah, I would say ask Chris Shove for that. He may be able to get you some information.
Do you happen to have a phone number or something for it?
Not off the
Okay.
top of my head, no. Yeah, you can Google him. All right, anything else for the good of the order? Anything else? All right.
Downstairs for the meeting.
No, I think we'll just stay here if that's okay with you
That's
guys.
fine.
And we are going to close this meeting now for a closed-door meeting because the rights of the individual far outweigh the rights of the public to know. So the public portion of this meeting is adjourned, and we will have a closed door. We've already adjourned, but
Are you
yes.
adjourning then for a short while or what?
No, we're gonna go ahead and close door right now.
I got some questions on this and
Okay.
for these people out here too. What's this closed door meeting?